Is up, YouTube? Welcome back to the Weapon Collective. My name's Jeff, and welcome back to the Gat Cave. In today's video, we're going to be talking about a topic that I love talking about, thinking about, and preparing for, and that is EDC. So, if you're not familiar, EDC stands for Everyday Carry. What do you have on your person every day? What is essential to you leaving the house? So in this world, on a channel like this, EDC, we're typically talking about what pistol you're carrying. And we are going to talk about that for sure, but we're also going to talk about the other things that you carry. So I'm going to take you through what I carry on my person, but I am just going to put this little disclaimer out there. This is by no means like the standard. You know, I carry a pretty basic setup, probably pretty common with most people that carry. And I am not saying this is the right way to do it, wrong way, anything. This is just my opinion, my personal setup. So anyhow, starting with that, before we get into the guns, I am going to show you what I like to have on my person or what I can't leave the house without. So first off, the boring basic stuff, phone, wallet. Always have my phone, always have my wallet. And from there, we get into knives. There are tons of knife channels on YouTube of people that know far more than me about knives. I'm going to show you what I carry, but I am not proclaiming to be a knife guy. Like, I love knives, but there are some people that know everything about knives on this platform. I am not one of them. I'll tell you what I like, and that's what I carry. And before I show you that, I've carried a lot of different knives over the years. You know, there's a bunch of different types of knives. Do you carry a folder? Do you carry a fixed blade? Well, I carry an OTF, which is in out the front, and this is a Benchmade shootout, so it is spring-loaded and just very easy to use. This could be a great self-defense weapon, but 99.999% of the time, this is a tool. I use this so often, multiple times a day. If you don't carry a knife, I always tell people, if you don't carry one, carry a knife for a month. You'll see just how valuable having a knife on you is, and you will never not carry a knife again. I tried carrying a knife for quite some time, and I always seem to lose them, and I don't know, this is the way I do it. I like to get one with the belt clip, which they most have, clip it right on my pocket, and it is almost always right where I left it. I've carried Benchmades for quite some time. I used to carry a 904 Osborne, which was a folder. I like that knife a lot, but these out the fronts are just so nice and easy. And there's also a little bit of thought behind it that if I'm fending someone off with one hand, it is very easy to deploy. Fixed or a folder knife might be a little more difficult. So I do have a fixed blade knife that I have carried very intermittently, and it's usually when I can't carry a gun, I will go to a fixed blade knife, and it's this little guy right here. This is a Toor knife, Toor, and has that little knuckle loop, which is very handy, and you'd have a hard time getting that out of someone's hands if they had a good grip on it through that. And it also has this kind of brass knuckly top on it. It's a small knife, but it is very sharp and very easy to deploy, especially with that loop. And it comes in this little Kydex sheath that you just have a little util clip. Clip that on and it stays there. The only problem with this thing for me is like it does limit my hinge. Like if I'm trying to bend over with this thing, I feel it. It doesn't make it impossible to do, but I feel it. So I don't carry a fixed blade every day. I have seen people carrying them horizontally on the belt. This probably isn't the right sheath for that, but it's an option. I know there's guys that carry these all the time, and it's a great little tool, but I don't think I would use this as a tool nearly as much as I use this. This thing is just in constant use. That is the knife that I carry, and I've gone through a whole rotation of different knives, different types of knives. And I even have one, I can't find it because my youngest son always takes it. And it is a little polymer knife, very sharp. I got it from Haley Strategic, but it's like a little fixed blade polymer knife, which wouldn't cut you with the edge like a steel blade would, but this thing, if you had to, could do some real damage. And I carry that in cases where I'm like going somewhere where there's metal detectors. I throw that polymer knife in there, and it is a great alternative. Wouldn't be my primary choice, but when circumstances dictate, I will carry that polymer one. If you're interested in learning more about knives, there is a vast resource on YouTube of people that know far more than me. Okay, so after the knife, there is one other thing. There is a light that I don't carry a light every day. I have a couple options. This is the one that I like the most. This is a Streamlight wedge. It has a really nice little activator switch right here to turn it on. Very easy to deploy, very useful. But for some reason, I've found it difficult to kind of institute this into my absolute everyday carry essentials. It's just something, it's not huge, but it starts to add up. I don't know. The knife, given the light, I'm working on it. Maybe I need to take my own advice, carry a light for a month, and then never not carry a light again. But the phone kind of pulls double duty for that. Everybody nowadays, we all use our phone as our flashlight. I use that at least once a day, if not multiple times a day. It is a very valuable thing to have, but a light like this, you could actually use it in more of a self-defense scenario of blinding somebody, and your phone just isn't going to do that. It's nice for finding something on the ground or making your way down a dark hallway, but this is significantly brighter than a phone, and I just, for whatever reason, have found it hard to make this part of my routine, but I'd like to, let me put it that way. So light, and then, so that's wallet, phone, knife, sometimes the light. I always have a watch. And then lastly, if you've watched my videos, you've probably seen this. So bracelet. I am not a bracelet guy, but I wear this for practical reasons. What is this? Well, it's some little cheap thing I got off Amazon, and it is actually, it has this little tungsten piece on it right here on this like kind of bungee cord, and this is a window breaker. So, and I've tested this out, it works, but you line that up, crack, and you smack that glass on it, and it just shatters it, and then you can knock it out. So if you ever had to escape a car, this is a very nice option to have. And then it does have one more very cool little secret, and that is this little guy. So it just slides right on here like that. And I've lost one or two of these over the years I've been wearing it, and it actually, I just ended up buying a bunch of these off Amazon. So when I find that I have lost that part, I throw a new one on and I'm good to go. But what is it? Well, this is actually a handcuff key. Something that I will probably never need, but the fact that it is right there on my wrist is nice to have. And just so you know it works, these are legit handcuffs. You can hear them locked, and just, that goes right in there and unlocks the handcuffs. So if I ever find myself handcuffed in a trunk, I can slide this off. I think most people would not recognize that there was a handcuff key integrated into this little bracelet. And my hand's behind my back. It is right there where I need it to be, have access to it, and slide right out of those cuffs. That is one of those probably never ever going to be in that scenario. Probably will never need it, but it makes me feel good knowing it's there. And it's very easy. Like, I don't mind it. I don't even notice it most of the time, but cool little thing that you can get on Amazon. So who knows? Just one of those little things that the glass breaker, that's way higher on the probability list, but as a backup, having that handcuff key on there, I like that. So that is what I have every day, is really knife, gun, wallet, watch, bracelet. That's it. And the watch and the bracelet never really come off. Sometimes I switch watches, but I always have a watch on. Now that we've covered all the little stuff, knives, wallet, phone, watch, bracelet, the kind of the basics, right? Let's get into the good stuff, the guns. And I'm going to take you through everything I carried, but before I do, I was just going to kind of go over my philosophy on everyday carry. Now, this is my philosophy, doesn't mean you have to agree, but I carry with one in the pipe at all times. Now, it didn't start that way. I had to get familiar, comfortable, and confident enough that I could do that. When I first started carrying, I didn't like the idea of carrying appendix with one in the chamber. So I thought I'll probably have time to rack that slide. And I may, who knows, but I can't count on that. So now I always carry with one in the chamber. I think that's the best way to go. But if you're not comfortable with that, I get it. You do you. I'm just telling you what my thoughts on it are. Having to rack the slide, I don't know if I'm going to have two hands. You know, I might be fending somebody off and I have to draw that gun. I might have my left hand. It's just there's too many variables that I can't always count on racking the slide. I might be carrying my kid. I might be something. Who knows? But we all know that anything that can go wrong will, and the more variables I put into that, the higher percentage of things that can go wrong. So really my whole philosophy is trying to whittle the amount of possible things that can go wrong down to a minimum. And I think I am there with this one. And so I always carry with one in the pipe. And then before we look at these guns, I am going to say, because of my channel and I focus so heavily on 2011s, I think that a lot of people would expect that I carry one as well. Well, I do not. I carry a striker fired pistol, and if I did carry a 2011, it would be something like this. This is the Staccato CS. This is the smallest gun they make, and it is still just bigger than the striker fired pistol that I carry. I'm not a huge guy, 5'11", 160 pounds, and I just don't have a lot of extra mass to conceal things, so I print really easy. When I've tried to carry a CS, it's just big, it's heavy, and it's uncomfortable, which is another point. Like, getting to a place where your pistol is comfortable, that's huge, because if it's not comfortable, you're probably not going to use it as much as you would otherwise. Now, this thing, I drive with it, I sit down, I watch TV with it, I do everything. I hardly even notice that it's there. I'm so used to it, and it's not like it's more comfortable on than without, but as far as carrying a gun goes, I don't think it can get any more comfortable than this. It is, I have full range of motion that doesn't limit me hardly at all. Now, bending over and like tying a shoe, something like that, I notice it, but it's not nearly bad enough that I would ever consider leaving it. And something like this, which is, you know, it's not dramatically bigger than the striker fired pistol I carry, but it's a heck of a lot heavier, and just that weight and everything. So I don't carry it for A, the size reason and printing, and then B, I don't like the idea of carrying a cocked hammer, particularly appendix. I don't know, maybe that is just me, but I don't like it. All that being said, let's get into the guns. Okay, so first gun I ever carried was a P365. Now, it wasn't this one exactly, it was a different model from this, but same size. This one is a little 10 rounder with this mag in it anyway. And these came out nice, small little gun, was light, was easy to conceal, and I liked it a lot. This model is the Sig anti-snag, so it has this sight system that I hate, but at the time I found interesting. You can see that little tritium sight in there. I don't know, I just do not like that one bit, but interesting idea, but not for me. I think this is a great little ankle gun, something like that, but this is what it started out with. The P365, and then it went to the 12 rounder, and this is not the, it was just, when I carried this, it was just in a Sig grip module. This one is from Icarus Precision. Just always tinkering. Even when I stopped carrying things, I still tinker with them and play with them. So all of these guns have probably changed at least slightly, if not completely, from when I carried them. But it was a similar version to this. As you'll notice, no red dot. So carried this for a little bit, then moved into a version like this with a red dot. It was obviously just the Sig aesthetic, so the grip module and slide from Sig. This is a Zev slide, and this was the actual trigger though. This is an NDZ trigger that I put in there, this flat trigger, which I do like. And then I was carrying, this one has a Holosun 507K, but at the time this wasn't even out. And here's another thing I'm gonna make a statement about is when I was carrying this gun, the first red dot I ever had on it was a Sig Romeo 0. Now, that's a plastic little like $199 red dot, and it's cheap, and I don't even think you get what you pay for. That thing is a piece of crap, in my opinion. So I'm gonna go out and say, if you are putting a red dot on your carry gun, spend the money on a good product. Like that Sig Romeo 0, put it on a range gun, no problem. But putting it on a carry gun, I don't like that at all. That thing is, it's a POS, and I don't think it's a good idea to put that on a carry gun. That being said, the Holosun 507K, the Romeo X, the EPS carry from Holosun, those are all awesome optics. I would trust them completely, and I have them on many of my guns. So that's my little Romeo 0 spill. But back to the gun. So I carried this for a while, and then I did move up to the XL, the P365 XL, just a little longer slide, and this one the same, is in an Icarus Precision grip module. It was not at the time, and didn't have this light on it, but this one also has a 507K. This is a nice, really it's this grip module, just feels so good in the hand. Feels much better than the Sig grip module. But went from that, and kind of, I think at the XL is where I moved over to a different platform, and I went to Glock Slimline, and that is because of Shield Arms making the 15 round metal magazine. So I did start with the Glock 43X, and I carried a 43X for quite some time. Now, for whatever reason, Glock on their slimline models, the 43, 43X, 48, they only have 10 round magazines. I don't get it, but they did. Like I said, Shield Arms came out with a 15 rounder, which made me make the change over to Glock. And when I did that, I also swapped out the mag release to a metal mag release, because if you're running a metal mag, you want a metal mag release. If you're running polymer, the same. So that is what I did. And this one, I have an RMR-CC, and same thing. I don't like the RMR-CC. And not that it's a cheap, unreliable product. It's just that it has a proprietary footprint, teeny little window, and for this size, I think Holosun 507K Romeo X or the EPS carry is far better option. And you don't have to get it specially milled, because at the time, maybe now, I haven't even looked, maybe now they have plates that would work with this, but at the time I had to mill this slide because of the proprietary footprint, and I'm just not a CC fan for this platform anyway. maybe putting it on like a 45-degree offset on a rifle or something, but for this, no. And I have a couple of them, but I wouldn't do it again. So this 43X, and then I kind of just went through different variants of that. Went to a different 43X. I went to a 48, and this one has one of these TLR6 light laser combos on it, which I don't do anymore, but they're very weak little lights too, but there's not a lot of options on these little Glocks. And for a while I carried a 43, and I liked the size. When I really had to be carrying small, carried that, but then you're getting back down into the mag capacity issue. So I rarely ever carried a 43, and kind of went around with that. And then also, since we're talking about Glocks, I'm going to talk about another part of EDC philosophy for me. So along my journey, I did switch carry guns depending on time of year, because as I mentioned, I can't hide a gun really well on my frame. So in the summer months, I would carry the smaller guns. And in the winter months, when it got colder and I'm wearing hoodies and coats and things like that, I would sometimes carry a Glock 19. Now, I can shoot this gun much better than I can shoot a 43X or a P365. Those are snappy little guns. They're not, I can't shoot them well at distance, anything past 10 yards, and I have to shoot very deliberately, I should say. The 19, a little more forgiving, has a much larger grip on it, and you can wield this gun better than these snappy little slimline ones. But I came to a point where I thought, switching carry guns is not a good idea, at least for me. Maybe you do your thing. I came to the point where I wanted to have the same gun in all situations. I wanted to, even though all these guns work very similarly, and you don't really have a huge difference in manual of arms, still, in a situation where your life may depend on it, I want it to be pure muscle memory. And I found that using the same gun in all situations is probably the best bet. So now I carry one gun year round, no matter the season, and it works out great. So for a time I did rotate, and I don't suggest doing that. But if you do, hey, that's you. No big deal. I just don't do it anymore. But I digress. So that was kind of my run through the Glocks. And then Sig made this gun right here, the P365X Macro. So this thing, it is still has a 3.1 inch barrel, which is the same as the P365, but then they added this, it's really an expansion chamber, but functions similar to a compensator. And they got this big full-size grip that takes 17 round magazines. So now I'm at a 17 round magazine in this little 3.1 inch barrel with the comp, and it just is such a better shooting gun. I had a Holliston 507K on this, and I did put the Radian backstrap magwell combination on here, which I like, but oh, and a TLR7X sub on this one. So this gun I love, and I still carry a version of this, and we'll get to it, but I went through several different variations of this gun, went from this, and then other than the one I carry now, this is probably the one I carried the longest. And this is just that same gun with a paint job. So this one just has been Cerakoted, which I like the aesthetic. And the only difference is this one has that Romeo X that I was talking about. And I really do like this optic. Between this and the EPS carry are my favorite kind of RMSC footprint. These are very nice. So I carried this for a long time, and then I did rotate in this one once it came out, and this is the X Macro, but the Legion. I really like this gun. It feels fantastic in hand. So I carried this for a little bit, and same thing, EPS carry, TLR7 sub, and then I got to what I'm carrying now. and that is my kind of hybrid of a few of these things. So this is an Icarus Precision grip module, although this one is their Air version, which means it's polymer. So it is the X Macro size, and then I took a 365 slide, so it is only the 3.1 inch slide, and then you put the Radian afterburner and ramjet combo on there, the compensator and barrel. This one is in bronze, and it lines up just perfect with the frame. So this thing, I mean, this is actually a comp and not just that expansion chamber. And for those of you that have shot the Radian afterburner, it performs very well. And then this Icarus Precision grip module is so just perfectly comfortable for my hand. And it does still have the gas pedal built into the side of it and fits my holster. That's what I love. So this is my favorite setup of carry gun I've ever had, and I am running a TLR7 sub and an EPS carry, and this thing is just perfect. This is my just absolute most favorite carry gun ever. And let me show you the holster, because a holster is a huge part of everyday carry. I can't even tell you the amount of holsters that I went through. I tried everything, and I found some that were good, some that were not so good, and sometimes the cheap ones were better than the really expensive ones. But this one right here, this is the Antimatter Industries Compact Wing, and this thing just comes off really easy. So it has this, and there's a little lever back here, and you can just depress that and slide that off if you don't want to carry the sidecar, but I always do. I like having an extra mag on there. So it is just an absolute perfect little combination, and it works so well. Okay, so that is my carry gun, and that is kind of the evolution that I went through to get to this gun. By no means am I saying that this is the norm, that you have to go through that many guns to finally get to the right one. That is not at all the normal case. I'm just showing you some of the stuff that I went through on my carry journey. I did make a lot of changes along the way, and I got to this point, but you could very well start with a Glock 19 and carry that for the rest of your life and be perfectly happy with that. It just is kind of a, you know, you got to balance all these things out. Of a carry gun does no use for you if you don't carry it every day. I think comfortability plays a big role, because if it's so uncomfortable that you don't want to carry it, then that's going to be an issue. If it prints so much that everywhere you go, it looks like you have a huge gun in there, that might present problems too. So finding the right gun for the right role that you need it for, I think, is key. And maybe you carry a 2011, maybe you carry any of these, maybe you carry something totally different. I know people carry whatever. I just think you should be carrying, because the more of us out there, the better. And I just would be interested to hear what's your carry gun. There's probably somebody out there that carries a Mark 23 for all I know. People get very opinionated on this subject, and once again, I'm not telling you this is the right way to do it. This is just the way that I did it. So I'm not trying to say that you're doing it any different than this is incorrect. By no means do you have to go through all these guns to get to it. I just am showing you my journey. And I hope you're carrying a gun. I hope you're carrying a knife. I hope you get one of these bracelets. These things are awesome. So please comment, like, share, and most importantly, subscribe. I'm Jeff for the Weapon Collective, reminding you, keep your weapons collected and keep collecting your weapons. I'll catch you next time.